This is a series of solo role-playing using the classic Traveler, published in 1977, I believe. Still going strong, still good. Besides using the three classic books, which I have in a sort of a one volume called the Traveler book, but doesn't matter which kind of. All the books are still available in digital. But besides that, I am also using the Mythic Game Master Emulator 2nd edition, mostly for the fate chart. So for kind of yes no questions, to find out where the scenes happen as I imagine or take a turn, and obviously also all the tables in Mythic for getting ideas. And the last tool I'm using is a card-based system called the Radiance Adventure Engine, published by Oddfish Games. I'll put links down below to all these products. It will be clear how the Radiance engine works as we start playing. I hope I start playing. I have already made a character to play with, just to make it possible to get started a bit quicker, faster. Character generation in Traveler is fun, but I want to sort of get into the meat of the fiction right away. So that's why I've skipped this stage. For my, I'm using a VTT called Alchemy, just to keep everything sort of in one place and having something to show on screen as well. Let me start by presenting my player character. She is called Sonia Beacon. She's a scout. She has done no less than 4 terms in the scout service, so been quite a bit around, also on her own, exploring, bringing messages to the far corners of the galaxy. Sonia is from a planet called Tralta, which is in a subsector called Trin's Vale. It's part of the Spinward marches, so kind of the center of the Imperium, I guess. But Tralta is a very inhospitable planet. It's a desert planet with average temperatures of like 60 degrees centigrade, and so it's a place where you are because you have to work, and it's like sort of recover resources or whatever. Sonia has not lived on Tralta for a while. She's now based on the main world in Trin's Vale called Trin, which is a highly advanced, high technology world on the edge of this subsector. It's inhabited by over 10 billion people, so it's a very, very busy world with all the latest within what the kind of like Imperium can provide in technology. That is also where the scout base is, where she took her training as a scout. And this is also where we start our game, because Sonia has just quit her job as a scout so she's not signing on for term number 5, too much to her supervisor, a guy called Mirror. Mirror was kind of expecting Sonia to take the 5th turn, but she's been having some psychological problems being on her own lately, and she wasn't kind of prepared to do another stint as a scout, but wanted to try something else. If we look at her stats, you can see that she has very high stats in everything except dexterity. So even though she's highly intelligent, well educated, has a high social standing, and is very strong, she's also very, very clumsy, which I guess has brought her into problems more than once. So she's the kind that will tip her cup of coffee onto her keyboard, will uh, flick the wrong button on the panel. But apart from that, she's also a very sort of all-round character. You can see I rolled no less than 4 times Jack of all trades when she was getting skills from her turns as a scout. I'm not sure how that should be handled in Classic Traveler. In Classic Traveler, the skills are very sort of specific. So every skill has you need to read the skill description to find out where you can actually use it. And for Jack of all trades, it can replace another skill, but not above skill level 0. So in a way, she could attempt most other things at skill level 0. But having level 4, what that means, I'm not sure actually. If any of you have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments. Because the skill description strictly says that you cannot get higher than skill level 0 in a skill you actually don't have via Jack of all trades. So she can kind of like half-assed do a bit of everything, which is not too bad in space, I guess. She has a bit of mechanical. Mechanical is to operate, repair, and do maintenance on mechanical devices. So you could also say she has a kind of a knack for mechanical stuff. And the skill description mentions that this is specifically not engineering, and it's not weapon related either. But apart from that, it can kind of apply to most other mechanical things. She can fly aircraft vehicles. That would be grav vehicles, which is kind of like for transport on a planet, which is not very hard, but she can do it. She is also trained in gunnery on a spaceship, so she could actually work as a gunner on a spaceship. She has 1 level in bribery, which again, if you look at the skill description in Traveler, she knows sort of how to work around officials to sort of to avoid too much bureaucracy and laws, and there's a couple of examples in the skill description of what it could be used for. But it seems that in the Imperium, most officials can generally be convinced to ignore regulations if they sort of receive a small payment. She has 2 levels in dagger, which was one of her exit benefits. She also has a dagger as a weapon, but I wouldn't say she's not the sort of combat type at all. And she also has pilot 1, which is for capital ships. Again, to quote the classic travel rules, it's starships and large interplanetary ships. So we are speaking about vessels over 100 tons. So she could actually take employment as a pilot. You need pilot 1 to pilot a big starship. That should be enough. That is Sonia Beacon. And this is the subsector Trin's Vale. You can see it right in the middle here with the B starport is Tralta, the planet, the world she was born on. And over here towards southeast is Trin with its level A starport, and it's also a planet with note that Tralta also hasn't got any water on the planet. All water has to be imported. But she's on Trin, which is also connected via an export route to other larger worlds. Speaking of the Radiance adventure engine I mentioned at the start, you use it to kind of get direction to where your story could go. And the first card I drew for Sonia was this one. And Radiance works with story cards, which you kind of try to fill in with a couple of details, and then you resolve the story by drawing so-called path cards, which are similar to story cards, but they are more focused. And as you can see here, to resolve this story, you need to resolve 2 paths. So when you know where this is going, you draw a path card, and then you role play out until you think you have sort of worked your way through the path card, and then you draw another one, and then hopefully you have sort of some kind of, maybe not conclusion, but sort of outcome of this narrative. Every story and path card has kind of this way of telling you what it could be. So detail means you draw a detail card, so that's similar to rolling on Oracle. So for this one, detail has enlisted hero or detail. To obtain detail, you would draw 3 details and try to sort of make sense of it. And the details I drew for this particular story card, if I can find my notes here somewhere, was war and scout and woodland. And I mean, you don't have to be literal, but since she's a scout, I thought it would be quite straightforward to say that this has got something with the scout service. So if I put scout service into this sentence, then the scout service has enlisted our hero to obtain, and then I use the detail war, and on the detail cards in Radiance there's some further sort of synonyms or things you could also be inspired by. For war it is martial, destructive, traumatic. So what I use this for is that I think, why is the scout service enlisting Sonia to do something for them now she has left the service? That is my starting point. Sonia visits her now former supervisor, Mira. Scout service has a huge tall building in the capital of Trin, and so they are kind of like high up, so like many hundred stories up, overlooking the starport of Trin, which is like insanely big. Trin has both a downport and a sort of up port, starport, where the really big ships dock. But Mira is kind of like expressing to Sonia that he's sad to see her go, but he has a suggestion for her. He knows that she didn't get any money out of it. Sort of, she hasn't got anything sort of in terms of cash out of her terms as a scout. And if she had stayed for a fifth term, she would be receiving an annual pension. But since she has turned that down, she's kind of like a bit skint now. So Mira is sort of suggesting whether she would like to do a small job on the side for him, sort of in her own time. And she's interested. Her plans were basically to find a spaceship and perhaps just join as crew on a spaceship and see where she could go off to. But she's listening to Mira's suggestion, and it seems that he tells her that there's one of his scout ships have disappeared. They sent an X message from one of the stations, and the last sort of message was that they were leaving their path to go retrieve something, and Mira wants Sonia to track this scout ship down, sort of on the side. He doesn't really explain why he doesn't just handle it in-house as a normal scout mission, which it could easily be. But Sonia is also not pressing the issue. She's not asking him why are you asking me for this. So this is a very informal arrangement. There's no sort of down payment or anything, but he does say that he will do what he can in his power if she can retrieve the scout ship to maybe get her a scout pension anyway, as thanks for her services. So Sonia leaves the scout base and goes looking for a way to get on with her journey. So where was where was the last place that we heard something from this missing scout ship? I think we will have to basically make a die roll for this. I will, since the subsector has like 8 adjacent sectors, then we could also ask the fate chart actually whether it was in the same subtext sector or whether it was in another subsector. I think it's very likely that it was. It's very unlikely that it's in the same subsector. So let me do a D100 roll. Can I do that in this? Apparently not. I can do 2 D10s. And from the start, my chaos factor is just 5. And I would say that I'm asking whether the scout ship sent their last message from within the subsector, which I deem very, very unlikely. Maybe I should actually formulate it as a yes and no, yes question. So, was the message received outside the subsector, which is nearly certain? I roll 89, and let me consult my fate chart. It was actually not sent outside the subsector. That's interesting. And if we look at the subsector again, there's actually not a lot of it needs it would need to be along the green sort of explode lines, right? So it was sent inside the sector. So I mean, it can't have been sent from. That would make no sense whatsoever. So it would have to be one of these 4: Kataru, Edenelt, Robin, which is an asteroid belt, or Hamamium, Hamamium. I don't know. That would be, let's say, we go from here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So just a D8. Yeah. So it's sent from Edelnilt. That is interesting. I wasn't expecting that whatsoever. Let me note that down right away. So, let me actually so the last message, and I should say X message because it's kind of like how information gets around in the travel system. Slowly. The last X message was from the world Edelnelt. Is that correctly spelled? Nils. That's not correctly spelled. Edenel's United World Pro Vial is this one. So it's it also has an excellent starport, the best there is, I guess. Compared to, it's smaller than Trin, sort of like 25% smaller, I guess. Standard atmosphere. Population about sort of under a billion. So it lists here on Traveler Map 900 million. It is ruled by a dictator and has like paramilitary law enforcement. The technology level is not quite as crazy as Trin, still high though. It's a B. And it is part of the sort of imperial ruling system. There's a viscount and baron and a knight. So I wonder if this ship that Sonia is looking for was just on its way home. It only had two sort of main stations, only one main station left before it reached back to Trin. Or was it away from Trin on its way out? I'm assuming it was an X-boat. So basically a mail transport. So Sonia is going to get herself down to the starport and find a starship that can take her to Edelnate. There's quite a she can go via the export route to Katarulu, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4 parsecs away, and then another 3 parsecs to Edelnate, depending on the kind of ships that she can find. But that is her first task, I think. So this was the initial setup for the story about Sonia Beacon, the former scout. I hope you enjoyed it. Send me questions if you want to know more about any of tools and why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I will follow up as soon as possible with the next episode. Thank you.